You know the tales about me. About Mother Ostankya and her curses and her cauldron.
Hey everyone, welcome into the Art of Scumming. Thank you for tuning in. It's excellent to have you here as always. And today we're covering Mother Ostankya, which is the new Kislev legendary lord coming in the Shadows of Change DLC. Disclaimer, this is not a review of the Shadows of Change DLC. That will be coming in a few days when the review embargo drops. I have some things to say about this DLC, but I will hold those comments until which time. The other thing that I will say as a disclaimer, my last video on the Changeling was not well received, and I believe it was not well received because of the controversy surrounding this DLC. Boys and girls, this is not my fault. This is not any content creator's fault. Please do not take it out on me or any other content creator. We are just simply reporting the news on something that you may or may not care about. So without further ado, let's talk about Mother Ostankya. First thing that you will notice when you open your new Kislev Mother Ostankya campaign is that we are not in Kislev, which is an interesting choice. It provides some different opportunities for battle, going up against what I think everybody will recognize as an area that is dominated by Dark Elves. So right off the bat, you're going to start in this region over here, and you're going to have to consolidate these provinces against Dark Elves. That's what you're going to be up against, which again is very interesting and different. Speaking of other differences, you will notice there is no supporters, which is present in all of the other Kislev legendary lords. But what has been replaced with are these hexes that we will get to here in a second after we talk about the resources. We have treasury, gold, which is what you're used to playing with up to this point when you're playing an order faction. And we have Spirit Essence. Spirit Essence is used for several things, both campaign map and battle requirements. But most easily to explain is like if we go into the tech tree here, you can see that there are certain things that you have to use Spirit Essence for to unlock. The tech tree itself looks very similar to a standard Kislev tech tree, except for it has this section added to it that is specific to Mother Ostankya. And the rest of it looks fairly similar to me. I have not compared individually, but I recognize several of these panels from the last time I played a Kislev campaign. And you can see, there's a few things that are clearly added here, but for the most part, you will find it comparable to the rest of the Kislev campaign. One of the other mechanics that you're going to use that Spirit Essence on are the hexes, which has replaced the whole supporters system that you normally see in a Kislev campaign. And these impact individual provinces. They do strategic things on the campaign map. And I only have one of these active right now, but you can see that it is used to relieve corruption in a province. So you can basically show up to this province here, hold one settlement within that province, pop that hex down, and eliminate all of the corruption in the entire province. And that is pretty useful in my guesstimation, because remember, as an order faction, you are going to take attrition from the chaos corruption. So just keep that in mind. It also helps out when you're moving into Skaven territory, because remember, the number of Menace Belows are directly dependent on how much corruption is in the region. So keep that in mind and use that to good effect. All of these can be buffed with technologies in the tech tree. So I'll give you a quick glance at what each of these does, and know that more can be added onto it with technology. Moving on to the Witch's Hut. Here we have something similar to what's going on with Grom, where you go around the map and grab a bunch of different ingredients, and you can unlock more slots. But basically, you're going to be creating incantations, and these incantations are either in the category of blessing or curses. You put blessings down on your armies, you put curses down on the enemy armies. So each one of these, if we just select one, is going to grab the requisite ingredients. We're going to create the incantation, and you can see it was that one there. And that incantation is going to be able to be bestowed on a unit in the enemy army. Same thing with the blessings. This blessing here is going to give me increased range, 15%, increased weapon strength, 10%. So next time I go into a battle, I'll have the option of using any of these incantations, and they are global. So if you create one, any army can use those incantations. You will also notice that we still have access to the Ice Court, so we can train Frost Maidens and Ice Witches. But in addition to that mechanic that you should all be used to when it comes to Kislev, we also have access to some other heroes in the form of, let's see if we can find an army here, Mother Ostankya's. We have the Hag Witch. And if we look at the Hag Witch, we have some things going on here that are a little bit different. We have access to the lore of beasts, shadows, and death through these heroes, in addition to the access of the lore of ice and tempest. So if you look at the skill tree for the Hag Witches, it looks kind of like just a beast caster, but it also has some very interesting things going on up here. You have one of these skills that you can pick through, as well as some bombardment stuff that helps out. And what's interesting is that this hero comes on a chariot, a missile chariot. And the missile chariot does pretty good damage when we're talking about low tier infantry. So definitely something to consider as far as play is concerned. If we look at the missile strength, 325 damage on those missiles. So yeah, we're doing a chunk of missile damage there, and it is armor piercing and poison. That was on the beast. If we come over to Gottrik's army here, we have both a death and a shadows wizard in here. They do not carry the poison, but it is still armor piercing at 325. And if we go to the shadows, we also lose that poison. We also have some interesting changes to the faction as far as recruitment are concerned. And if we just click on one of these capitals here, we'll go into the building chains and I'll show you what I mean. So first off, you will notice if we look over here, we cannot access patriarchs. You can't get patriarchs right off the bat. And if you read this subtext, it says you must control one of Kislev, Erengrad, or Prague, or be allied with their Kislevite owners to construct this building. So you can either become an ally with one of the Kislev factions, or you can capture one of those cities to access these building chains. And that goes for the Patriarch building. That goes for the building that normally gives you your war sleds and your Groms, right? Also, same thing with your Ice Guard units. Same thing with your Griffin Legion units. Same thing with the rest of your cav and all of your higher tier infantry. So your Streltsy, your armored Kossars, your Kossars with spears, none of it. You cannot access any of that stuff until you either capture one of those cities that is, again, completely across the other side of the map, or ally yourself with those factions that hold those cities. So this drastically changes the play style. So what can you recruit, man? Well, if we look here, Kossars, but we do have access to some military buildings. We have a look in here. The Eerie Woods gives us access to the Akshina, which are, think, gunner runners that don't fire in all directions, right? Stalking archers, decent range. Then, of course, our Things in the Wood, which these ones are, think corn dogs. Yeah, so like monstrous, fast doggos, okay? Anti-infantry. And then, of course, your Hag Witches, but you can also get these to be recruitable in all provinces and all settlements, so this is more of a increase the capacity. And, of course, the Incarnate Elemental of Beasts, which not only does pretty awesome weapon strength, as you can see there, but it also casts Flock of Doom whenever it is in contact with anything, which is hilarious. The other building line that we have are like all of your woodland units. So spiders, bats, bigger spiders, and the snow leopard and the bears, right? So those are the infantry and other units that you have access off the bat. So if you look at the difference in the play style, I would say that this army, although I've taken a more traditional route, if you went the way that the faction is kind of set up to run, which is the Akshina route and forest units route, then you're going to end up with a very kind of hit and run, stalking, ambush style type of play. which is substantially different than the normal Kislev factions. Let's talk about Mother Ostankya herself, the Legendary Lord. If you look in here, her tech tree looks somewhat similar to what you are going to expect out of a normal blue line here, but she is, again, very similar to the Hag Witch, and that she is a very mobile missile chariot, and she does some interesting stuff here. She's got melee defense, melee attack, accuracy, and speed reductions for not only her missile strength that is 601 armor piercing damage, but also for her melee attack. It also does that same effect, and it is magical damage. So we've got bonus versus infantry, armor piercing everywhere, and magic. I would also say that she is a combined beast and shadows mage. Although, as far as this combination is concerned, I will leave for my review. But you can see that she is geared very heavily towards Flock of Doom, which is pretty cheap, and you can just spam this consistently throughout the battle. Her special line, she has the Spirit Bear kind of magic missile. It's a magic missile, but it's like also an artillery shot. So it has an area of effect, which is interesting to say the least, as well as some other skills up here. And she has an innate healing ability that doesn't heal a ton, but it is something that can be used to great effect. And of course, the rest of it looks fairly similar to what you would expect in a lot of the other legendary lords in the Kislev roster. Now, as far as faction strength, before we wrap up today, I'm going to say that I have two armies here, and they are composed roughly of the same thing. And in 32 turns, I've been able to consolidate all of this territory without using any of their special units except for the ones that we are granted at the beginning, and then any regiment of renowns that we have access to. So, pretty strong faction out the gate. I am interested to see how this campaign progresses, but I wanted to get this out to you guys so you can see what's going on with Mother Ostankya, because to be honest, I was very focused on the Changeling for this DLC, and now that I've opened up Mother Ostankya, I want to dig a little bit deeper. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully this was interesting and informative, and if it was, then please sound off in the comment section down below. Every little bit helps, and we'll see you on the next one.